All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. Welcome, everyone. My name is Neil from Portal to Ascension. Thank you all so much for spending your Wednesday with us for this next 30 minutes. We have another beautiful interview. Today, we're going to be interviewing Enrique Villanueva. And Enrique, my wife, myself, and my our Portal to Ascension partner, Peter, just met Enrique in Burbank I think it was a few weeks ago. Paula Harris introduced us to him and kind of told us a little bit about his story. We got to know him, and he's an amazing person. From the interaction we had, it really inspired a lot within me to realize that we can do a lot with him, that he's a multifaceted individual that could be plugged into many of our events with a lot of great information to share. So he's also going to be doing our first ever Spanish-speaking webinar, which is going to be an interview with him next week. And I'm excited for that because for the last 2 years, every week I've had at least 1-2 people contact me to say, please release this information in Spanish. And from speaking to Enrique and speaking to Paula, I'm realizing that there's a lot happening down south that we didn't even know about. There's a UFO consciousness circuit going on in the US that is really close-knit, and its own thing is happening. But down south, there's a lot of experiences. And Enrique, he's actually from Lima, Peru, and he had his first UFO sighting at the age of 7. So I'm going to do a little paragraph bio on him, but I'm just going to keep it short because I want him to jump on and tell you more about himself. So Enrique Villanueva, he was born in Lima, Peru, had his first UFO sighting at the age of 7. In 1988, he joins the Rama mission, a group of contact founded by the internationally well-known Peruvian contactee Sixto Pax Wells. There, he was initiated into the protocol for contact with extraterrestrials. After serious effort and dedication, he had the opportunity to interact with this alien intelligence through means of programmed sightings, telepathic communication, and physical encounters, experiences that triggered in him a big hunger for knowledge. So Enrique, go ahead and unmute yourself, and are you with us?
Hello, Neil. I'm here. Can you hear?
Hi, brother. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Good. Ready?
Good. Awesome. So go ahead and just take it from wherever you want to start. Tell us about your childhood and how you got raised with this information and how you came across it.
Okay. I remember the first time I heard the word UFO, in Spanish, actually OVNI, an identified flying object. OVNI in Spanish is Objeto Volador No Identificado, which is the same meaning. And at 7, I have a sighting that was really major. All the friends out there, we saw this light flying above us, and so bright that the night became suddenly like a day. And later we saw that ship getting close to some avenue we have. And I remember that a whole group of adults and the kids we were at the time, we were witnessing this thing. Next day, the newspapers had many articles about this sighting that the whole city of Lima witnessed. So I remember my father buying all the newspapers about it, and he was reading it in the table during breakfast. And we were mentioning what we saw as he was reading the articles. That was the first time I got in touch with the word UFO or OVNI, and the first time we talk about the possibility of being visited. The night before, I heard the adults talking about a possible invasion or things like that, but that was completely out of my scope. I didn't even have reference of that until that moment. So at 7, I had the first sighting, and then the same year I had another one. And years passed when I just have that in the back of my mind without exploring more into that. About the age of 12, I had some spontaneous astral projections, and through that experience, I started. I became curious about the UFOs again. Through astral projection, I practiced meditation, and through meditation, I had sightings again, and that was about 14, 15 years old. And then at 17, I had an amazing lucid dream where I met this elder who showed me a book, an open book. The book was made of metallic plates filled with symbols that I couldn't understand. And the elder showed me the book, but it was like a test for me. It was like I knew that if I moved the pages of the book to the right, I was gonna see the future of humankind, and if I moved the pages to the left, I was gonna have access to the history, the past. And I remember that I was so hungry for information, for knowledge, that I started going back and forward with this book until the elder pushed me back gently. And then I realized that I didn't pass this test. It was like I was seduced by the knowledge of time. And I knew I was being tested many, many times before. And I was a little discouraged to know that I was failing that test again. But then he told me that I have to continue looking for the light, that I was supposed to show some kind of power or take people that were in the shadows into the light. His language was very symbolic. And I was trying to get everything he said, but then I heard some screams around me. And then I woke up in my bed. My cousin was sleeping in a bed beside me. And as she woke up to go to the bathroom, she saw two beings that she said were very bright, like two beings made of light, sitting on my bed. And when she saw that, she started screaming, and then I woke up. So for me, that was the first time that the non-ordinary reality somehow touched our material world. Somehow these two realms got in connection through my dream, through the vision of my cousin. And I realized that something was going to happen. Something from the other side was closer this time. And I was really aware of that. And I opened myself to the possibility of exchanging with another reality. At the time, I didn't relate the idea of the book and the elder with the UFOs. But then, like a couple of months later, the Rama group, a group of contact that started in Peru in 1974, they organized an event in the Chilca Desert. Chilca is like 60 kilometers south of the capital, Lima. And normally that was the place where the Rama group went in order to have the sightings and the meetings with this alien intelligence. So when they announced this event on the media, I remember I heard about that on the news one night. I immediately thought that maybe I was supposed to be there. Just the day before I saw that the news, I had a dream where I was being invited to meet with alien beings. And that was a really weird dream. For me, it was more an awake state, even though I was sleeping at the time. And I was so aware of the invitation that I thought the invitation is going to come anytime soon. And then I saw this news the next day. So I thought that I was supposed to be there. And I went to the Rama place, or the place where they meet normally. And they told me that I was not supposed to be in that event because I didn't have the preparation. I was not trained with them. And I was not ready to just quit the experience because I was not prepared. So I got the information of the location of the event in the Chilca Desert, and I went with my dad, separated from the group. We got lost in the middle of the desert. We never reached the location of the meeting. But then when we went back driving towards Lima, there was a big blackout. There was no energy in the city. As we get into my house, I felt a vibration, very strong vibration. and I noticed that the dogs in the block were barking, like they were aware of the same vibration. My brother, my father couldn't hear it. That was very weird. I could hear it clear. And that night I had an encounter, but that was astral also. I saw that this ship came down close to my house, and these beings came out of that ship. I meet with them, I talk to them, but as I said, that was an astral projection. I was aware of the meeting, and they took me inside the ship, and we went to, it was like a tour through the solar system, and we saw different space stations in different locations of the solar system, close to the moon, close to Neptune. And then as they were telling me what I was supposed to have from that experience, they gave me details about how the solar system was prepared for this contact many years ago. Like some of the artificial satellites look like a natural satellite, like our moon, let's say. And what they say is basically that the solar system was put in place, not the whole solar system, but many satellites, and they are serving the purpose of these civilizations working with us. And all this information they gave me was like a download, a massive amount of information that when I went back and woke up in the morning, I was like in shock. I couldn't remember everything, and through the day, the images came more clear as the information. And I realized that I couldn't just handle that information by myself. So I went to the Rama again, and in the Rama group, I explained to them what I received through this experience, and they validate everything I received because they have been receiving this same information for the last, that was the year 1988, and they started in 1974. So it was like already 14 years for them. And they knew not only about the satellites in our solar system, but they knew also about the book. In Rama, they received the information that that book represents like the history of humankind. They have a specific name for that book, and is related to the idea of the Akashic records, like the history not only of this humankind, but the history of the planet and even the history of the solar system maybe, and also the civilizations that are interacting with us. So when I received that info, I didn't know that the book was related to the experience of contact also. But now with Rama, I was confirming that that was the case. And I realized that I had many things in common with the members of Rama. So I decided that I was going to stay with them and practice and learn from them whatever they have as a body of knowledge. So I went to the library they have. It's a library of psychographic communications they have been receiving since the beginnings of the experience of contact in 1974. So I reviewed them, and I realized that the symbols I saw in the book and the symbols I was receiving during meditation were related also to some kind of language of a federation of civilizations out there. And many of the symbols I received, they were already in record in Rama. And I remember that that was a surprise for me, and I was ready and open to experience even more. In Rama, they have 24 teachings or practices that you are supposed to go like one a week. Once a week, you meet with a group, the new group, and then you receive the practice for that week, and then you go on for the next 24 weeks. During the 6th, I think, we were invited to go to the Chilca Desert, this time with the Rama group, not by myself. And we were about 15 kids between the ages of 15 and maybe 30 something, and our instructor from Rama. We went for 2 days, I think, to the desert, or maybe 3. I don't remember well. But the first night we have a sighting, a very important sighting. We were, it was around 11 p.m. I think, that we saw lights coming at the level of the mountains. And then there was a mist or a very low cloud. And from that cloud, the lights came out and started moving like in different directions, up and down. And they were like information for a while. Then one of those lights just detached from the group and approached my group. And when we saw that, we were really amazed. The two girls that were there, they were really afraid. One of them was crying. And I remember the instructor says something like, don't get afraid, or they are not going to approach or get closer to us. And just as he said that, that light stopped and went down. And I think it was maybe about 500 meters away from us, like 5 blocks, let's say, of distance from us. And we saw the form of the light, like oval. And I had the impulse to run towards the light to see it closer, but it was in the middle of the desert. I didn't have a flashlight with me at the time. My instructor says that we were not supposed to leave the group, so I was trying to follow up with all the instructions he shared with us. So that was the first sighting that had more witnesses, and the environment of Rama is like a sighting that you expect. It's a program sighting. When you go to those meetings in the desert, it's because something is going to happen. So we have that program sighting, and I have this feeling like if they are coming through so much distance to meet with us, there must be something important about this. So I guess my heart opened to the experience, and I kept practicing. If they suggest that we were going to practice meditation every day, I did that. If they suggest that we were becoming vegetarian in order to raise our vibration, I did that too. And whatever was the instruction, I follow up because I really wanted to get closer to this experience. And I remember at some point, I decided that I was going to try the telepathic communication because all the old groups in Rama, they have the possibility of communicate with those beings through telepathic means. They use automatic writing. So I remember I went to my house one night at 11. I grabbed paper and pen and just opened up my mind the way they show us in meditation. And I said, okay, maybe I'm going to receive any or some kind of information. And I was waiting for that. Nothing happened. I just felt some energy running through my body. I tried the same exercise next day at 11 also. In my house, everybody was asleep already, so it was quiet. I tried again with paper, pen. I felt the energy. I even felt the presence of someone in the room. I turned around, there was no one, and that was it. So the next night, I thought, this is the last try. If nothing happened, that's it. Maybe I'm not the antenna. I'm not the person that is supposed to receive telepathic communications. So as I was trying it, I sensed the energy running through my body. I felt the presence of someone in the room again. I turned around, there was no one. But then I closed my eyes to go back to the channeling, when suddenly I saw in my mind this clear image of someone approaching me from the back. I saw his hands getting closer to the back of my head. And as I saw that, I saw the energy coming from his hands, and the energy, as it touched my head, I sensed the buzzing sound of the energy going through my head. It was like a zzz, zzz. When I heard the third buzzing sound, there was an explosion of light in my forehead. And then I opened my eyes and noticed this guy standing in the other side of the table. I was in the living room, in the dining room, sitting on the table, and in the other side of the table, this being, he was tall, maybe 6 or 6'3", I'm not sure. But then he looked really very well proportionate, like a person that uh, goes to the gym all the time, but really, really well proportionate. His features were beautiful. He looked nice, like a model, but his race was not very common. He was like a tourist with an exotic beauty, something like that, like a Mongol maybe. And his hair was long and looked white in color. His eyes were big but oriental. And he was standing there, and I was really shocked. I didn't expect him to just come down. I was expecting more like a voice in my mind. And I didn't have any reference in Rama of someone having that encounter during a telepathic perception. So I was shocked. I was not aware that that could happen. I was ready to run, but I tried to stay still. I was really afraid. I remember my heart was so agitated that I felt it in my neck. And I asked him, are you going to say something so I can write down this? What is going to happen? I was trying to break the ice because it was really uncomfortable and I was feeling like I was going to collapse. And then this being just looked at me, and I sensed this energy coming from him towards me. I couldn't see that energy, but I sensed something that was close to be material, but I couldn't see it. It was invisible. This thing embraced me, and when I sensed that embrace, I felt the feeling of brotherhood that my brain translated into the words little brother, like he was calling me little brother. And I realized that telepathy was not the transmission of a thought. It was at the level of an idea that is also a feeling, and is so complete that you cannot distort the meaning. I couldn't take that information and translate it into something else. That was little brother, but the brother part was real. He was really feeling me as a brother, as a minor in front of him. So as he said that, he continued telling me stuff, but not with his mouth. It was only the feeling, and my brain translated that perfectly. It was like immersed in the environment where you are surrounded by telepathic beings. You have the ability to take that information and understand that information. Like, I didn't have any training in telepathy at the time, but as I was immersed in this experience, it was really easy to understand what he was communicating. So he said that he was in the need to calm down because I was not the antenna of the group, but there was one in our new group of 15 kids that had already the telepathic channel open naturally, and they were going to use him as a channel for the group. But it was great that I predisposed myself, and they congratulate me, and they said that whenever I was predisposing myself to serve my group, they were going to be more than ready to assist me and help me. So he asked me that I go back to my group the next day and explain to them what happened. So in between the group, the one that is already open in his telepathic ability was going to step out and start the communication with them. And then he remained quiet, like he was expecting me to ask something, but I was really in shock still. I didn't know how to react or what to do. He smiled, and I knew he was leaving. There was a contour of light around his body, and that light became brighter. As it became brighter, his whole image collapsed in Middle Earth. And like one of those old TVs that you turn off, the black and white TV where you see the image goes into a spot, that was the same. The light brighter, and then it collapsed in Middle Earth and vanishes completely. And as I saw that, I didn't know, was this real? Did I imagine this? I really saw this guy, but then how is this possible? In Rama, there is no reference for this. I went the next day to the group and they told me that they didn't heard in Rama anybody having this encounter during a telepathic communication. So they dismissed my story. Most of them thought that I was telling a lie or something. But then there was a guy who was missing from the group for 2 weeks. His name was Victor. And Victor really paid attention to my story. And when everybody went away, Victor just stayed with me and he told me, but how did it happen? What did you do exactly? Tell me the specifics, step by step. What did you do? So I told him the whole story, and then he tried the communication the next day. And 2 days later, he called me and he told me that he was receiving information without control. He was in the bus and he was listening to these voices, and he had to write this down in a napkin he had in his pocket. And the first 2 weeks were a little chaotic for him because it was a lot of information and he couldn't control the moment when this information was coming. But then later he somehow got to manage this communication, and then he became the antenna of the group. Through him, we were invited to go to Marcahuasi, Nazca, and many different locations in Peru in order to experience the contact in a more closer manner. So that was the beginning of the experience of contact for me. And through the years, I have different encounters, not only sightings, but physical encounters with those beings. And that was the beginning.
Great. Thank you for sharing, brother. Just a few questions in regards to your story. You said that you saw that they had a book that showed you the possible history, our true history, and our future. Could you go a little more in depth on that? Did you see what our possible future is? And if you did or didn't, what's the message that these beings have for us in regards to our future?
That's a very complex question, Neil, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer the whole thing, but what I know for sure is that the Rama experience, the experience of contact, is kind of like a filter for this exchange between the non-ordinary reality and our reality. And the Rama experience in itself is also a message. What I mean is, what we can see from them is what we already have inside. So we are actually limited in order to understand what they are bringing to us. We are going to mature through the experience of contact in order to understand more and more of the info they are bringing. So if this book is really the Akashic records or whatever it is already related to our energy at this moment in time. So as we raise our vibration, we are going to have more and more access to that. But at this point, I honestly don't think that we are supposed to access that information because it would deviate our path. I think that's the main reason I didn't pass that test, because I was too hungry to know future and past. And now I understand that time can actually be simplified or collapsed, because it seems that the timeline we see is just one of many possibilities. There are many different realities that we don't have access to, but they exist in parallel to us. So there is not only many futures waiting for us, from which one is the one we are supposed to walk, but there are also many pasts and many presents simultaneously. Not only that, I think this is a simulated reality. What we are living now that we think is really concrete and heavy and physical is only a simulated reality, and we have the possibility to jump into different possibilities in order to simplify our path going back to the source. So the book, I think, is a symbol. It's a symbol of our accessing that info, but not using it in a way that is going to be damaging to our evolution.
Right. That's interesting you say it's a simulated reality, because lately it seems like a lot of people are coming out with that same information, and even mainstream scientists. I just read an article a couple of days ago, just like a mainstream science journal blog, and they're saying that from what they can tell, it looks like that this reality might not be real and it might be holographic in nature, and simulated. And ultimately, like you and I, we're made out of the same frequencies. We're not made out of solid matter. So the table's made out of the same vibrations that I'm made out of. Why is it that you're a human and this is the table, right? So therein lies the illusion. There's something not there. So it's very interesting. You also have wrote a book called 4 Days in the Fourth Dimension that is only in Spanish, right?
Yes.
What does that entail? What is the fourth dimension?
Well, science called the fourth dimension actually time, right? So what I realized is that in the experience of contact, this alien intelligence talk about the emergence of a new state of consciousness. They said that the whole humankind was going to jump into a fourth dimension. And then we thought about being in a weird reality like the Twilight Zone, but they were not speaking about a physical environment. They were speaking about a state of consciousness where you can see different things. So they told us that as you identify yourself with the third dimension, you also have a consciousness of the third dimension. Even your language describes the third dimension. And because you don't have words or meanings pointing to a higher dimension, you are not aware of those. They exist, but you are not aware of those. So that was like an invitation to open up to a different perspective of reality. But when they suggest the fourth dimension in the 70s and 80s, we were not ready to understand that. We were thinking about aliens that came from another planet. Eventually, at the end of the 80s, we realized they were not only aliens and extraterrestrials, they were actually time travelers. The only way to come to us was through time. And then in the 1990, in that year, I quit Rama. I decided that that was enough for me. I was not going to escalate anymore in my experiences. I need a more normal life. So I quit the thing. But then months later, when I was completely detached from the series of contact, I have this awakening. I cannot call it in any other way. It was like a moment of enlightenment. I sense this energy following me all the time. And then one day that energy fall into me, and like a fire in the base of my spine, it exploded and then ran up my spine. And when it touched the top of my head, it was like 10,000 suns, and I was the universe. I was not floating in the universe. I was the intelligence of the whole creation. And then that moment really transformed me. That made me see a different perspective of space and time. And when I went back to my body, everything had changed. As I opened my eyes, I realized this was not the real, this was the dream. And I could see my hand surrounded by this green light. And then when I approached the mirror, I saw myself with these different frequencies in my body. And when I saw my brother, he was emanating this light from his chest. Then I realized it's not just me, it's everything. Everything that is alive is already aware of these energies. So for the next 4 days, I was in a different state of consciousness, perceiving reality from a different perspective. It was not Enrique anymore. It was like the whole universe was looking through my eyes. And I could sense the feelings in people, not just in people around me. I could think about someone and I was with that someone. It didn't matter he was in China or in any other place. And not only in space, but in time, I could anticipate to events that were coming. And for me, it was natural in those 4 days. But then I realized that I couldn't stay in that level, or I was not going to be able to communicate that to the people. The only way to communicate this was going back to the original stage. So I quit that state of consciousness and came back. But then coming back into the third dimensional perception, it put me in a position where I had to mature in order to communicate this. So at 20 years old, I didn't have enough experience as a human in order to communicate the experience of those 4 days. So it had to pass more than 10 years later for me to put these ideas in order and write down that book. I lived 4 days in the fourth dimension. And yes, it's only in Spanish.
Right, and you were saying that because you weren't ready, and maybe humanity wasn't ready at that point, and it took you a whole 10 years to really integrate it. You even said that the reason why they don't have any direct message about our future or is because they're assisting us to have this natural evolution, that they want us to come across it ourselves, right? So but they did assist you having experience in the fourth dimension, so you had a glimpse of what was happening, and you could kind of bring that down, integrate it, and tell people later in life. Now, I'm curious to know that will contact like this start all over the world? Because it seems from my research and communicating with people all over the planet, I've found that most of the experiences are actually happening down in South America. So, and they're not talking to governments, they're not talking to authority figures, they're contacting regular people and groups that are set up to communicate with them. Is this happening worldwide? And will this start happening on a more frequent basis? Is there any reason why it's happening more often in South America?
I think to this point it's happening all over the planet. And I can see that this level of consciousness is integrated itself in our culture. So you are going to see it in the anime movies, in Hollywood, and everywhere. It's like it's hitting our consciousness from many different positions, from many different media locations, and you just need to be open. It's not about the contact. It's not about the meeting with a being. It's about being aware. It's about awakening. So no matter how is the experience that is going to take you to that stage of awakening, the important thing is to be awake. So no matter what is the dream that is guiding you to the awakening, the important thing is to be awakened. So if you do it through the experience of contact, great. If you do it through meditation, amazing. It's great too. If you do it through music, that's perfect. I think it's happening all over the planet now. And in the year 2012, I have the last physical encounter with those beings in Mount Shasta. And they told me about that moment, like the moment where humankind was entering into the fourth dimension. It was just not the experience of individuals spread around the planet, but the whole collective consciousness was entering into the fourth dimension. And when that happened, they said that there was going to be some chaos around the planet. The mobilization of millions against the system that was already old and dysfunctional, and we were going to see more and more the collective consciousness being against the old models of thought. So that happened. That after that encounter I have in Shasta, Venezuela, millions of people rejecting the government, then Egypt, and I don't think that has stopped. It's actually increasing. Around the planet, I see more and more the rejection of the old paradigm and entering into a new and unknown possibility for all of us. So I think it's happening all over the place. If you open up through music, you're going to experience it through music. If you open up to contact, it's going to happen through contact for you.
Right, right. And I feel that that's happening now, just like you said, where the system looks like it's crumbling, where everybody in the world is kind of anti-establishment, anti-corporations, lobbyists, all the individuals that have maintained control over our planet through monetary means and other ways, they're losing power and no one's trusting them anymore. So I agree, like what you're saying is that it's not about the individual contact experience, it's about raising your frequency, becoming enlightened to yourself, knowing yourself and the universe basically, and then through that we're going to raise the vibration of the planet, where all these small mechanisms and these things that no longer serve us, right, like world governments that really don't serve us, are going to start heading out. But as that happens, it's going to, even though the vibration is increasing and we're shifting to that fourth dimension, it looks like chaos because everything needs to crumble. One system needs to fall for another one to come up, and during that falling process, if you're not enlightened or awakened, you can take it as chaos, and you can take it as, oh my God, I just lost everything, or you can take it as the sign of the times and the necessary shift into this next dimension, right?
Yeah. Entering into the fourth dimension of consciousness, I see it as being pushed into the pool. Maybe you didn't know how to swim, but now you have to. It's the only way you're going to survive. So as humankind, we have been pushed into this new reality, and now we are going to handle it, or we are going to handle it. There is no other way. So that's what we are doing right now. And it seems awful that when you learn how to swim, it's going to be so beautiful. You can go wherever you want to go. So I think it's okay. The chaos is it's a crisis that we need to go through.
Right, and I feel like individuals like ourselves are the way showers that we've been in this and researching this for a while and had these experiences. So when a lot of people wake up, and I jokingly say, like, when people wake up and act like chickens with their heads cut off because everything's crumbling and they don't know what to do, this information and way showers like us are there to basically show the way and talk about this information to a system to get to that next level, you know?
Yeah, I think this is taking us to the recognition of we being not limited by the perception of the third dimension, but we are actually multi-dimensional beings, perceiving itself in limitations. We think we are this third dimensional being, but we are actually something so big. And the only way we're gonna discover that is hitting the wall of the third dimension over and over until it breaks. And then we see what is coming and what we really are.
Right, right. So we have a couple of minutes, and I have a few questions, but I'm thinking I'm going to save most of these questions for maybe you can incorporate into your presentation when you do Full Disclosure Summit. You know, we don't want to give away too much, but questions such as the Rama Institute, I'm going to ask you about that when we do the full disclosure, and also the NASC Alliance, some more information on that. But for now, I just want to close up with you talking about your hypnosis practice, and I'm curious if through your hypnosis, have you come across any experiences that are interdimensional and not just regular past lives or whatever is the conventional hypnosis?
Well, there is a tendency to think that hypnotherapy is only about regression, but I rarely practice regression with people. I actually prefer not to do it. But then, yeah, through the years of practicing, there are many different paranormal stuff that happen when you have someone in a deep state of hypnosis. But beyond that, I have received information about a new form of therapy that actually collapses the timeline we are in order to give us the best option of a future. And I call that REM healing. I received it in 2014. It was in a form of channeling, and then I put together many pieces, and I realized that we can actually jump into a different timeline in order to correct the issues we are going through in this moment. And REM obviously is related to the movement of the eyes when you are in the paradoxical dream, when you are sleeping, but also R represents reprocessing information from the past. E is engaging the future, and M is modifying the present. So as we jump into different locations in our timeline, we actually correct the direction of our timeline, and we can access the best future possible. So that is happening. I started communicating this in my YouTube channel in Spanish, and I have thousands of testimonies of people doing the most amazing things. Some have testimonies of banishing a tumor. A woman told me that she stands up in front of the Hurricane Patricia when it was approaching the coast of Mexico, and she did the procedure in front of the coast. And then as the hurricane approached, it just went from category, I think, 6 to 2 to, I don't know, it became a storm. So many weird things are happening when you try the REM healing, because it's not just the healing for yourself. When you heal yourself, really, when you correct your timeline, you correct that for everybody that is related to you, your community, even the whole planet.
That's beautiful. Tell us, in closing, tell us where we can find more information about you, your website, and then also about the Full Disclosure Summit, what your presentation is going to be on, if it's going to be on a longer version of this, and Laughlin, a little bit about Laughlin.
Yes, in Laughlin, I'm going to explain not only about my experience of contact, but also what is my view, because I started as a teenager in the experience of contact. Now I'm already 47, and I have a different perspective of what happened and how we can interpret this in a more, how can I say, is in a more gentle manner, because we are so ready to read the experience of contact in the terms of the science fiction, if you want, or the science of our time. But this goes beyond our perspective on science. This is different. And I think this is a social thing. I think this is something that is related to the process of our mind. And I want the people to have the sense of how it relates to them. It's not just the experience of a contactee that is a special chosen being. It's nothing like that. This is something affecting us all. And I want them to taste that feeling of, I am part of this transformation. So I am preparing to give them the keys for them to have the experience of contact by themselves at the level they want to experience it. I took 50 people to Mount Shasta in August in 2016, and they were able to have the sightings and to have some very beautiful experiences during the practices we did in Mount Shasta. So I hope I can translate that into the experience in Laughlin, Nevada too.
Beautiful. And do you plan to do any more retreats anytime soon? Do you have anything scheduled?
I think in August we are going back to Shasta because they are asking me to go back.
Nice.
With a bigger group.
Nice. Is there an event already created you're going to go be a part of, or you create the whole thing?
I create the whole event.
All right. So let me know, and if it works out with our scheduling, I'd like to attend. You know.
Of course.
And so thank you so much, brother. Just go ahead and let us know your website and just a few closing thoughts. And just want to let you know, thank you so much for your service, man, and everything that you do. And I'm truly blessed to know you. And thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you, Neil. The same. People that want to know more about REM healing, they can go to Facebook. There is a group called REM Healing Group. And in Facebook, they can look for me with my name, Enrique Villanueva, CHT. That's my public page. And I'm gonna try and put some more information in English in my channel in YouTube very soon. So probably we'll have some videos coming. And thank you very much for the opportunity, Neil, for this platform. And soon we're gonna be in the summit.
Yeah, beautiful, brother. Thank you. And we'll see you next week for the Spanish one, okay?
Perfect.
All right, brother. Have a beautiful day. Talk to you later. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Enrique. And again, he will be back next week. This will be on YouTube probably by tomorrow. So youtube.com/portal to ascension. And Enrique, so he talked about the Laughlin event, which you'll be featured in on 11/11 of 2017. So this year, at the end of the year, there is a huge conference called Starworks UFO International Congress, and Paula Harris is putting this on 3-day event with extraterrestrial, interdimensional, amazing speakers from all over the world. A lot of individuals from South America. The theme for this one is actually going to be South America, or Spanish in general. So even though she has speakers from everywhere, there's a lot of people talking about the sightings down there because she's come across a lot of great information. There's a lot of happenings happening right now. Like the Chilean government, for example, just released a sighting saying that they know for sure that this sighting is definitely not anything from Earth and is not human, and it is extraterrestrial. And they spent a long time researching this information and checking on every level to see if the sighting was actually anything conventional. And when they found that it wasn't, just neutrally, they just released this information to the world saying, oh, we've done our neutral, non-biased study of this, and we realize that this is not ours or any other human races, any human civilization. So this is extraterrestrial. So just that sheds some light on the mentality down there. To me, that's like, we don't have any red tape or any taboos, and they just looked at something, and if it wasn't what it was, they told the public, and we don't get that over here at all, you know? So there are a lot of things happening, and I'm excited for you guys to find out. So Enrique will also be at the Full Disclosure Online Summit, and everybody listening to this is hearing this for the first time, and the first attendees that are hearing the announcement that we are doing the Full Disclosure Online Summit, which will be a 5-day event, 5-day online event on April 19th to 23rd, with each day being on a different topic. And on day 4 is extraterrestrials, and Enrique is gonna be one of the speakers there, and he's gonna go into a lot more information, an hour to an hour and a half presentation. And I have some amazing questions for him. I'm really curious to know a lot more, especially about the Nazca lines. I want to know like what they are for and what the beings have said, if anything, you know. So again, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for spending the last hour with us. And we love you all. Stay tuned for more. Take care. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.